Good morning, everybody. We want to welcome you guys to another episode of Be Encouraged with Tevin Ramirez this Friday morning. We also want to thank our sponsors for allowing us to keep bringing content like this to you guys. We want to thank our friends at Rubio Tax, Dynasty Insurance Group, and Optimal Exterior Solutions. And we also
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Have you ever felt like this is my breaking point? The breaking point. What is your breaking point? I just think about water, and water is something that we all need, right? Water is something that we all have to drink, something that we all have to cherish. But the thing is, water has a breaking point around 212 or 100 Celsius degrees that water boils. It comes from being a regular this fluid. Now it comes to a gas, and I think about how many people are there right now going through some situations, and they feel like I'm at my breaking point. I'm at a place where it's just things need to break. Something's about to break. My job's about to break. My family, my friends, my relationships, things are about to break. I'm here to talk to you. I know we've been talking about Luke 19 these last few weeks. So let's just keep in that vein and talk about Luke 19. And this story in particular is about Jesus he's going down a road, and the people are there, and they're like this admonishing him. They're saying, Hosanna in the highest. They're saying how great he is. But the story is always taught from the point of Jesus. But let's look at this a little differently. I want you all to turn with me to Luke 19 in the Word, and I like to use the Word. Luke 19, let's start at verse number 28. I'm going to give you some encouragement today. 28 reads, "And when he had thus spoken, he went before, ascending up to Jerusalem. And it came to pass, when he was come nigh to Bethphage and Bethany at the mount called the Mount of Olives, he sent two of his disciples, saying, Go ye into the village over against you, in the which at your entering ye shall find a colt tied, whereon yet never man sat. Loose him and bring him hither." I want to speak about this story from the perspective of the donkey. I mean, out there sometimes people feel like this particular colt or this particular donkey, in life, you just feel like you going through a lot, and you're just going through situations, and you're at a breaking point. Well, this donkey was at his breaking point. Let me explain. I think about, have you ever realized that this particular donkey, it was a colt, and it was tied up for a certain purpose. It was tied up. It wasn't running around. I used to raise cattle with my family and on the family farm, and there's some cows that you just got to let go because they'll jump the fence and run all in the street, and they just are wild. And the thing is, this colt did not do that. He stayed tied up. And if I have an encouragement for you today, you've been wanting to run away. You've been wanting to start your own. You wanted to just let go of whatever that you feel like that you're in right now. But I'm here to encourage somebody to stay tied up. See, people don't realize that a lot of times in life that you receive what you don't expect. You expect it internally, but the thing is, you get it when you least expect it. So this particular colt was tied up not moving. And there's people who are expecting to be bigger, expecting to be better. So they go out there and they untie themselves. They go out there and they leave this place and do this and do that just to get away, just to hit that. You want to be famous, and you run out there and you go and you lose all that you have because it wasn't time. And I believe God is saying to stay tied up. I know it may seem odd and it may seem strange that I'm still in this position, that I know that it seems like, and I'm at my breaking point, but you're not the one that breaks you. God will allow you to be broken, and he will take you out of that situation. I remember the scripture that said that the children of Israel, they were in Egypt and they were going through so much, and they're like, God, help me, God, help me. They didn't try to run and make a run for it. Moses didn't try to run and make a run for it. He sat there and he said, God, I need you to be my guide. And God took them out of Egypt. See, you've been trying to run and trying to escape, but God is saying you don't got to try to escape. I'm going to take you out of the situation. I'm going to bring you into your promised land. I'm going to be there for you. The colt, a lot of people like to untie themselves, but the colt was tied up. It wasn't moving. Don't try to move yourself. Let God move you. The next thing that got my attention was, it said that Jesus was talking to the disciples and said, hey, I'm about to ride on this colt in the middle of the city. But the thing is, he said, disciples, go and grab this colt for me. Yes, so we just got done talking about Zacchaeus in this chapter. Zacchaeus was a man who was a rich man. He was in a city known as a rich city. And he's there, and he humbles himself and climbs up a tree to see Jesus. But the thing is, going down to not only from Zacchaeus, the colt himself, the colt was a young donkey. What does that mean? What am I saying when I say colt? It was considered a young donkey, meaning that it had so much to live for. It has so much potential. Have you ever been in a position and it feels like, God, I'm tied up. I'm at my breaking point and I have so much potential. I don't have to be here. I don't have to do this. I can just leave. I can run out. You know, being a pastor, there's times where I'm sure that encourage all the pastors out there that you may feel like, you know, I don't have to do this. I don't have to lead all these people. These people are, you know, as we will say, they're getting on my nerves. They're saying this and they're saying that. But the thing is, have you ever felt like that even with children? You may have children. You may be like, oh, they're getting on my nerves. But the thing is, don't run out. Don't leave. This donkey was young, had all this potential, but yet he humbled himself and stayed tied up. Have you ever felt like, God, I have potential to leave, but the thing is I have to stay tied up to do your will. And some people get resentful, but I'm here to encourage you to stay tied up and to realize that you have potential. So down in this verse, and there's so many things. It's so many things. So we're talking about this young donkey, and I really want to tell the perspective from the donkey because I feel like a lot of people don't really listen and realize the significance of this donkey. It says in verse 30, it says, saying, go ye into the village over against you, in which at your entering ye shall find a colt tied, whereon yet never man sat. Loose him and bring him hither. This donkey was nobody sat on this donkey. Nobody used this donkey. This donkey was there. He was prepared just for a time like this. Think about it. This donkey was raised up for this particular time. And I'm here to declare to somebody out there that you were raised up for such a time as this. You may not realize what you're coming up against. You may not feel like you are equipped for it. You feel like you can't win. You can't handle it. But the thing is, God is saying you were called for such a time as this. This donkey was never sat on. They breed the donkey. They whatever they got to do to, create this particular cult. And they set him aside just for this purpose. See, sometimes in life, when you go through things, you don't realize that you are getting prepared for such a time as this for a purpose. There's a purpose behind the pain. there's a purpose behind what you go through because it's preparing you for what God has for you. I remember the story of Esther and how Esther was prepared for such a time that she was in. There was a particular time and a particular thing that God used her for. She was prepared for it. Let me tell you, you were prepared for such a time as this. And the thing is about Esther, and I'm going to get back into Luke 19. Esther is a lady who takes over a high position as being queen. And the thing is, she goes through a process of getting prepared. She has oils that they have to, and she has to bathe a certain way. She has to. It's like a beauty process, preparing her for the king. And the thing that got my attention was that when it was time for her to speak up for her people, she had to speak up because she was called for that. She was put in that position. You may be just like her. You may be at the seat at the table, and you're the only one there that understands your viewpoint, your culture, your community. And God is saying, I put you there, and I allowed you to go through all that you went through so you be able to be prepared for the seat at the table and to speak. You were called for such a time as this. I know you may be driving right now, or you may be listening. If you got a friend beside you, tap him on the shoulder and tell him you were called for such a time as this. I like to do that at my service when I'm speaking as well. So some people call it holy harassment, but I call it just, getting to know your neighbor, But let's speak some more about this quote because I was really intrigued by this quote. It was prepared. And sometimes, like Esther in the cult, they prepare for such a time like that. But the thing is, sometimes your preparation is unusual. God, why am I being prepared like this? Esther had to be prepared by making sure she, put oils and got her hair nice and smelling good. And that was a preparation for her calling. Your preparation could be something that you go through. You may be going through a situation. You're like, why do I have to go through tough times? But the thing is, it's preparing you. Some unusual preparation for what God has for you. See, some people want unusual results, but they don't want to go through unusual preparation. I'm going to tell you my calling is different and it's extremely unusual. I've been through a lot. I remember one time I was at a homeless shelter to help bring food for the people, and I sent some of my people from the church out before me to grab food, and I'm there on my way, and I get a call like, hey, you need to come here quickly. And I'm like, well, why? I'm like, what's going on? And they said, we're at the homeless shelter, and a man is here with a machete, and I don't want my children and us to get hurt as we're trying to help the church out. I need you to come disarm him. So I had to come and basically work with the man and to disarm the man. He was prepared. We took care of the children. Everybody was safe. But God called you for such a time as this. What does that have to do? That means that sometimes your preparation is unusual. I remember being there and at this lady's house. She needed help with something. She needed help because she needed help moving. And she had basically an issue. Long story short, inside this house was a big Rottweiler. The Rottweiler was really big and tall. It was a mother Rottweiler. And there was a little baby running around. And she was protecting that baby. Well, long story short, I walk in the place to help out. And I helped move and I helped everything. And all of a sudden, the dog decided she was going to want to attack. And I couldn't tell. The dog had like grazed my leg. And I was like, well, what's going on? I couldn't tell what was going on. But the dog had bit me. And I remember that in that time, I didn't realize the self-control that I had. Because I was like, you always tell yourself, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that in this situation, I'm going to do that in this situation. But, when you're prepared for I believe God had his supernatural power in me that day. And I realized that I, disarmed everything, the dog was calm and took care of everything in that moment. But I was prepared for different things that I go through now. And I'm here to tell you that when you go through situations like that, you're prepared later on to be able to handle a conflict, to be able to handle people who are gossiping. You're able to handle, you're going through unusual preparation right now for what God has for you. And I'm here to tell you, it helps you to endure and have patience and push through. I'm going to say this, that one more thing that I got from this was that this donkey itself was tied up. And this donkey was at a time where he was at a breaking point. Now, I know you probably thought breaking point meant that I'm about to lose my mind. But see, the thing is, a lot of people, when they're tied up at that job, I was told a story that if I have a bottle of water and I hold this bottle of water for a whole year straight and never put my arm down, this bottle's going to get tiring, right? But if I hold this bottle of water and if I hold my phone and if I hold a cup of water in my hand, it's going to take less than a year for me to get tired because it's so heavy. A lot of times we criticize people who are going through a situation for 2 or 3 years. But the thing is, you're like, you're not going through what I'm going through. You're just going through little things. But they've been going through it for years. And the thing is, don't criticize them because they have a struggle as you have a struggle. It's heavy. You can turn to your neighbor and say, it's heavy. Whatever you're going through may be heavy right now. It may feel like you're holding 100 gallons of water and you're sitting there holding it for maybe 2 seconds. But the person that's holding that bottle of water for a year, that's at that job and they're acting, they're just talking about him, they're gossiping about him, and they're sitting there. He's holding this for years, and he's sitting there with it on his shoulder for years. That's hurting his feelings, and now he's tired. He's at his breaking point. The one that just holding 100 gallons of water, he's at his breaking point as well. Don't judge others and not realize that you have struggles yourself. Here to declare to somebody that you may be at your breaking point. You may be like this colt, but you know what? The colt didn't move. This donkey did not move. He stayed tied up. You may be at that job. You may be with family. You may be with friends. Maybe relationships, and you're feeling like, I need to release myself. But no, the donkey stayed, and the disciples went over there and untied him at the right time. I want you to realize that God will loose you at the right time. God will promote you at the right time. God is sitting there watching you. And he's saying that stay tied up. Just repeat to yourself. Stay tied up. I know it seemed like it's not working out. I know it seemed like you're paying, and it's just the house, the car. It's stay tied up. A lot of times people move. One thing in business that I've learned that is a lot of people fail because they start to franchise too early. You franchise, but your first business is not succeeding, and you're actually doubling what you need as a profit to be able to maintain and sustain your business. And the thing is, you need to stay tied up. That's what this donkey did. It was tied up, and the disciples came and loosed him at the right time. I'm here to tell somebody, your breaking point, you may feel like you're at that breaking point, but God will actually break you and take that and loose that chains that's around you. He'll break those things off of you at the right time. Let him take care of the breaking point. Don't be at your breaking point. Be encouraged today. And I want you to know it's time to stay tied up. I love y'all.
Once again, thank you for joining us on Be Encouraged with Tevin Ramirez, brought to you by our wonderful sponsors, Rubio Tax, Dynasty Insurance Group, and Optimal Exterior Solutions. And we also want to welcome our new community leader collaborator, Rios Construction Services, LLC. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys